Hi guys, it's Lawrence from Kettlebell Nottingham here, and today I would just like to talk about the hand insertion in Kettlebell Sport. Now, the hand insertion is a very important detail in my opinion when it comes to lifting for Kettlebell Sport, as it is the basis of any good repetition, and it will help us avoid long-term injuries. So what is the hand insertion and what does it look like? Well, very simply, this. The insertion is how our hand and forearm fits inside the kettlebell handle. Now, the correct position for this is having the handle diagonal on the palm of the hand, with the weight distributed between the heel of the hand and the webbing of our thumb. Also, we don't want to have any space between the kettlebell handle and our forearm. So if we were to try and place a finger in between them, we wouldn't be able to do so. An incorrect position, on the other hand, would look something like this. The handle would be slightly off, more in the center of the palm. The wrist would be bending, and there would be enough space in here to place fingers between the forearm and the kettlebell. Now, obviously, from this position, I cannot perform quality repetitions. So if I am to go overhead, I'm struggling to get good fixation at the top, and it's obviously hurting my forearm and straining onto my wrist. So what can we do to make sure that our hand insertion is good? And by the way, this is the same for the hand insertion in the clean and also in the snatch. Well, first of all, what we need to do is get used to the correct position. So very simply start training ourselves by placing the bell where we want to have it. Yeah, either here or overhead, and just get used to how it feels to have everything in the right place. On a side note, I would say also it's important to be able to move our fingers whilst we have the kettlebell on our forearm. That's definitely a sign of good hand insertion. So once we know how it feels like, then we need to make sure that every time that we clean or snatch, we get the kettlebell into that position. Now, generally in my experience, people get poor hand insertion by being too tense whilst they're performing the clean and the snatch, and by gripping too tight. So the idea is, whenever we are performing a clean or a snatch, we want to keep the arm very, very relaxed, and we don't want to be crush gripping the handle. We want, in fact, to keep a hook grip, which is thumb over index, and it's quite loose around the kettlebell handle. Now, that way, with a relaxed arm and the hook grip, the bell can spin freely and fall into position onto our hands, such. Falls right where I want it. Every time. Same goes with the snap. Now, if I were to keep my hand and arm tense and try to muscle the kettlebell up, then the pathway would be different and it would be off, and it would fall into a place where my hand insertion isn't good. So I'm going to tense my arm as much as I can, come up. You see, it's bending my wrist, yeah? And it would be even worse if I tried to go overhead with a snatch. So it isn't difficult, it just takes practice. The first few times, you usually feel like you're getting only a couple of reps right and maybe 100 wrong, but with more and more practice, that starts changing. And I think once we understand the pointers that we've looked at, so diagonal handle, no space between the bell and the forearm, and we understand how to keep our arm relaxed and rely on that relaxation, then hand insertion becomes a lot easier and makes all our lifts, the jerk, the snatch, the long cycle, much better and with quality reps. Okay, I hope this was useful, and if you have any questions about kettlebell lifting and kettlebell sport, feel free to get in touch with me and I'd be very glad to help. Thanks for listening.